Hopefully this isn't too scuffed, but this is the demonstration of the horizontal stack. So basically, this is the initial setup. You've got the disc here, your three handlers, and the four cutters. So these red lines are representing the defense where they are. And so basically it is a force right hand flick. So Mark is forcing this way, and at some point we will handle dealing with all the marking, but for now we're just focusing on the horizontal stack. So you've got your four cutters out here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're counting from left to right like you would when you're counting off on the line right before a pull. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and so 4 will always be the person who is out of the play in this scenario because of how we choose to run it. And I will get into that. But I'm just moving the numbers here to make it easier to see. And here I'm just making sure that the distance is easier to see because you want to keep it about 10 to 15 yards from where the handlers are. And usually if you aren't at that distance, then someone on the field or on the sideline will shout it out. And in that case, you just need to be able to hear when they say that and just recognize that. So from the four-man cutter line, you've got 1, 2, 3 who are active, and 3 is the first cut in this formation. So 3 should be running directly down after the disc is put into play. So they should just be running straight down, nothing special, and usually that will be either an easy completion or just waved off. So after they're waved off, this is what happens next. So number 2 hasn't moved yet until the handler here has faked this main guy. So when he gets to here and he gets faked, as he's clearing to his presumable right, if he's facing the handlers, he's clearing right, and as this is happening, 2 is making an out cut. And this is different from what we ran last year and what we've done in years before, because in years before, this cut and this cut would happen at the same time. But I'm more interested right now in looking at these upfield throws, because before this is all clogged through because this guy's still cutting, but now I'm trying to see if we can have this open lane for this deep throw here, because I think that'll just suit our team better. So as this guy's going out and he's going across, number 1 is filling number 2's spot. So as 3 clears all the way, so he goes down, he gets faked, the handler should be pretty clear about the fake, so this guy gets faked off, and on him, so as he's clearing or starting his cut out of the main area where it's active, number 2 is going deep and number 1 is taking number 2's spot. So all of this goes off of number 3. And so then, as this is all progressing, he moves down here, and he waits until he starts moving, and then he goes. And this guy comes here. This guy is waiting for the fake to make his undercut. So this guy shouldn't be like face down, just looking at upfield. They should, after they take a few steps, be looking back, because it could either get thrown deep or get faked pretty easily. So whoever's number 2 should be more aware of what's happening on the field and watching the handler, because they are the main look out of this formation. So if this guy gets faked and it's not thrown deep, what happens as that fake happens is this guy is still completing his clearing cut, because when he's right here, it has a chance to get thrown. It is a very tough throw between here, but it can happen. So whoever is first cut should just be generally aware of what could happen from here. But as this guy fakes the deep throw, he's coming directly under, just like the initial guy from here, just way far back. And this whole time, number 1 here, the guy who is on the rail, just comes to this spot. He's not going anywhere else. He's just waiting. And so basically now we're just back in the original 4-man position. So just all the slots have moved over. And now we're just completing the cut again. So he's going down. Number 1 is waiting for him to make his cut out. So as number 2 clears, number 1 is going, and number 3 is taking his spot like that. So he clears, number 1 comes down, and now it's just moved over again. And usually by now it is about stall 6 to 5. So the handler should be looking for more of a dump, but they usually won't be looking deep too often. Just keep the stack moving. And if you get open on a under or deep, then that's good. But especially in higher counts, when they shouldn't be looking upfield the whole time, you can kind of just keep running this motion, because they're more likely to see a free under than a free deep. But yeah, so this is a general motion in the red, and the lines are just where you're going, and then the circles are where you are meant to like stop your momentum and make a change of direction unless it's thrown to you. yeah, that's a simple motion of our new stack. So again, whoever's here comes down, and as he clears, this guy goes, this guy takes his spot, and everyone's just going back to their initial positions that I had put at the beginning. Okay, so now I'm going to discuss what happens after a completion from host stack. So what's going to happen is they're going to complete their motion, so the same motion, just timing. So it could get thrown to here, and if it's not thrown to here, then they're still doing their motion because he just faked them off. And this cutter's going down, and the disc gets thrown. Okay, this is usually where we struggle the most in our stacks beforehand and now. So what to do in transition? In this case, because from the host stack we were just running, number 1 should already be clearing towards the middle, and I just didn't put an arrow down, but if you just recall back to what I discussed earlier, as they're clearing into this number 2 spot to get ready for their out and undercut, they're kind of just meandering over because this guy's clearing around, and so this guy should be the immediate cut based on where the mark is, because the mark is still forcing this way because they're giving him this side of the field. So he makes his move over, and he kind of just follows his cut through. So he should be looking for this continuation. That should always be our first look. So he should go and follow the line up and try and get to this side of the field. But if that doesn't happen, and he just makes it up here, then he should just hang out here for the moment, because the field is kind of, everything's moving really fast. So taking our time right now can be really important. But if he doesn't get it, he's just clearing back to this side, because, oh, he gets up here, gets faked off, he's just going to clear. Like, if we go too fast, we're just going to fall apart, which we do a lot. And so the rail will come straight up from this side, and generally he shouldn't be looking for this because this is a very tight throw, but it is an option if the cutter is confident. But they would just throw this as a leading pass to number 4, because this is one of the cases where number 4 is a valued cut here. So if it's open and you're confident with that throw, then put a leading throw that doesn't get this cutter involved. But generally that's a really tough throw, so that should not be the first look, but it is an option. So number 4 either will clear upwards, and so this is where we get confused. So the cutter who just had cleared under and just got out of the way for this cut should go all the way around and come to the rail like he does in host stack, but just keeps running to, again, 10 to 15 yards in front of where the new handler line is, because that's where the disc is. So this is going to be mainly for all our handlers. So we have our 3 handlers, this is our main handler, and then our 2 wing handlers. So the wing handler, because he's on open side, I know I didn't move the mark, but you can imagine, because he is on open side, him making a push here would be really bad because he's clogging the space that cutters want to be in. So he's just going out, and the main handler, because he's directly down from where the disc got thrown, and he has the hardest chance of getting further upfield, he will push out to the left. And this is all only if the cutter is not immediately looking for a dump. If the cutter is immediately looking for a dump, then this does not matter because it will just stay as these 3 handlers and the cutter will go back into the cutting space. But if we're moving really fast, and what I kind of hope we will do, because I want everyone to be somewhat confident in making 10 to 20 yard throws, is will be this guy who's on the far left. He's on the break side because the mark is on this side. So break side is where the mark is, open side is where the mark isn't. So this guy is coming all the way up. So he, because he is the most out of play, will end up in the stack, because now, because these cutters have had time to figure it out up here, so again, more communication on the field, these cutters have had time to figure out, okay, where am I standing, where's the stack, who's first, who's second, XYZ. So initially you're only going to have 3 because you obviously have the cutter back and the 3 handlers, because, you know, we run. We got to get there. But, so, the initial guy who made his first cut all the way back will be probably the first cut, and then whoever was clearing off of this cut will end up filling there. So basically, now the handler will come all the way up and take the cutter spot. So hopefully I show it. Yeah, so he will go and make his cut, and 3 will move over, and so the handler will just take that extra cutter spot, and he will move into being parallel with the new handler now. And now we're back into our 4-man with just our handler and cutter swapped, because they're confident enough to control the field and control the pace. And so now we're just back into our stack, and yeah, but everything cycles back. And now we're just back into our normal host stack, and you should just always go off of the first cut, always go off of the person in front of you, don't rush your cuts, and just pay attention to the field, especially if you're 4 or 1 over here, because you have the best perspective, and you got to be watching the field the whole time.